So we got two Bernie clips, two clips of the same interview. Let's play the first one where he criticizes Israel. And I think the really notable thing here is the intervention from Dana Bash, who famously, of course, when Pramila Jayapal brought up the high rates of civilian deaths in Gaza, she said, yeah, but you don't see Israeli soldiers raping Palestinian women. She never corrected that, by the way. All right, let's see, Dana. Let's take it away.
Talk about Israel.
Yes.
Israel's security cabinet approved a plan to take control of Gaza City. Your response?
Look, Israel had a right, of course, to defend itself from the terrible terrorist attack from Hamas. But what they have done since then.
What does Bernie mean by that? If you want to say Israel, and this is important to scrutinize. On October 7th, if you have militants shooting at your civilians, you have the right to protect your people. Okay, on October 7th,
right?
That's happening. But after October 7th, after that attack is repelled, where did that attack come from? It came from occupied territory. Gaza is occupied territory. It's under a cruel, illegal siege. So at that point, there's no right to defend yourself against Hamas. Okay, there's only the obligation to end the occupation and then negotiate an exchange of hostages and captives, which Hamas was willing to do. So Bernie, though, kept saying after October 7th, Israel has a right to defend itself. Yeah. And he even opposed a permanent ceasefire with Hamas. He said, you know, like how can you broker a ceasefire with Hamas given what they just did? Well, actually, that was the only solution, was to immediately have a ceasefire and broker a release of hostages, both the Palestinian hostages by the thousands that are in Israeli prisons, and the few hundred Israeli hostages and captives, because some of them were military, that were taken to Gaza, and then withdraw the occupation and the illegal siege. That's what should have been called for. But Bernie, despite having some good stances and being better than pretty much everybody else in Washington, kept expressing his fidelity to Israel's non-existent right to defend itself from an occupied people. And
I'd say better than anyone else in the Senate, because Rashid is a lot better than he is. And
sure. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Certainly better. Certainly in the Senate. Yes. Anyway, you know, that's Bernie. I think that's the flaw in his rhetoric, which he keeps repeating. But so be it.
Is gone to war against the entire Palestinian people. There are now some 60,000 who are dead, most of whom are women, children, and the elderly. You got 18,000 kids who have been killed, 3,000 children who have had one or another limb amputated. And now on top of all of the destruction, human destruction, incredible destruction of their housing, of their schools, of their universities, of their healthcare systems. On top of all that, what Netanyahu does is impose a blockade preventing food to come in, and people are starving to death. So I think the good news is that we're making some progress. I offered a resolution, as you know, a couple of weeks ago. We got 27 votes from Democrats to stop military weapons going to Gaza. No Republican support. But you know what I think? I think Republicans at the grassroots level are also catching on that it is not a great idea to provide billions to a government that starves children.
Would you say Hamas has some culpability in people starving?
No. This is
when they spent so much money building tunnels and everything under
so right now, what is going on is a slaughter. All right. And right now, Israel is, with few exceptions, is in control of the military situation. It is not Hamas's. Hamas is a terrible terrorist organization. All right. And I certainly hope they have no future in a new Gaza or Palestine. But the fault right now is 100% on a Netanyahu government who has waged an all-out war, committed it's war crimes. They are war crimes. Netanyahu is a war criminal, just as the guy who was head of Hamas is a war criminal. And the United States taxpayers should not be funding Netanyahu.
Can you imagine being Dana Bash and being like, I'm talking to a senator about this starvation campaign that he's calling out. And the really important question is not just to ask him in a very leading way if Hamas is culpable, but then say why not when he says they're not culpable, and then give some ridiculous talking points about why they're responsible, which makes it doesn't even make sense. I guess it's better saying that they've built tunnels. That's better than saying they stole aid. And she probably would have said that they stole aid, but sadly for her and all the other genocide propagandists, the New York Times debunked that, and even two Israeli officials debunked that. But can you imagine, like, this is your question, Dana?
Yeah, it's like, it's the same can you condemn Hamas thing on loop, and let's not talk about years of decades of ethnic cleansing, occupation, siege, mass murder.
But this is like real time, not even a conceptual thing. You know what I mean? Like, they are literally, as we speak, children dying, and Israel is starving them. I got to say, I know that Bernie leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to Israel, but I have to say, I was impressed that he was so unequivocal about whose fault it is.
Yeah, I mean, I would have expected him to say, yes, Hamas is partially at fault, but he didn't. He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't take that bash bait. So, good for Bernie.
And he bashed back. He bashed back while she was trying to put in more talking points. He's like, right now, who's responsible? Yeah. So good on him. And Dana Bash, Craig McIver wrote a great piece, the great human rights lawyer who resigned from the UN over its failure to do anything meaningful with Gaza. He says that journalists can be held accountable for incitement to genocide, and there is precedent for that. We saw that with Rwanda. And Dana Bash, I really hope, she's a woman, and I'm a feminist, and I want to make sure that she gets credit. It doesn't all go to Jake Tapper. We need to recognize female journalists. So big shout out to Dana, and I really hope that she's recognized for her work as a genocidal cheerleader. And I don't know how she can sleep at night, honestly.
Today, we are excited to share with you our sponsor, American Giant.
Back in the 1960s, 95% of clothing Americans bought were made in the United States of America. Today, it's only 3%. That's why we're so excited about our sponsor, American Giant. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never leave the U.S. Mega corporations obsessed with growth are churning out cheap stuff from poor materials, leaving working people behind, hollowing out communities, and piling up junkyards. Buy your clothes locally to support jobs in towns that help stitch communities together. Support American-made, tariff-free clothing with American Giant. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code USEFUL at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code USEFUL at American-Giant.com.